the corner, or back from the corner of Thirlmere Way and Remembrance Drive, we've got one of the many garages, Aussie Denning.
Yes, that's Aussie.
And he had an impulse station there, and from the 1950s. And he also sold second-hand vehicles and machinery and bits and pieces. But what's interesting with a lot of those old garages and petrol stations, Frank, the petrol houses are almost right on the pathway, weren't they? Right on the footpath.
Yes.
As was his the garage. And so he sold that. He later sold it, and he sold that to Maury Quirk. And then I believe, did you say they actually moved the building back?
Yes, they moved it off the side of the road where, as you see the photo, and took it back probably about 10 foot or 12 foot or more.
Yeah, so it's very close by the look of that.
Yes.
And here's a couple of other views of the garage. So you've got a side view.
Yes,
the
northern side view.
Yeah, this one. So he's got a big door opening there to take the vehicles in, I guess, would he?
Yes, yes.
And then that's this one, the one of Beatles. It's probably how most of us remember it.
Well, that was how it was until it was pulled down to make way for Woolies.
Yeah. So in between that, we had Maury Quirk was in there, and Maury Quirk, he started off in Rockford Road with a panel beating business.
Correct.
And then he took over from Denning. Sorry, I'm getting confused with my people here.
Yes.
And he was quite well known in the district. He was very, very much liked. He was a champion clay pigeon shooter as well.
Absolutely.
And he took over later on. We can see from the ad then Noel Ladder and Brian Evers are in with Maury. And then I think after his death, was it that the family took on the tyre service side of it, and Noel and Brian.
And the battery service still continued on.
That's right, because the batteries, Tahmoor batteries, everyone's, I think, had a Tahmoor battery in their car, haven't they?
Yeah. But the family continued on with that for some time until it was sold to Beatles.
Right. No, the last. So, and then continuing with the milk bars, although this one commenced life as a barber shop.
Correct.
Yeah. And
remembering we're on the right hand side still.
Yep.
Where all the shops were.
Yeah, it's strange that, isn't it? That being like a highway, that there was nothing on the other side.
No. Well, a lot of that land, as we see it today, all under houses, was the farmland. They grew Sass Tickle grew peas over there opposite Dunk's shop, and all along there where all those houses are, was all farmland.
But you think it's odd, I would have thought, that being on the Hume Highway, I mean, you've got traffic going both ways, naturally.
Yes.
But they didn't have a shop on the other side for people heading, south to...
No, there was no shops. There was no shops even from on the left-hand side, even up to Bargo. In Bargo, even on the left side.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Well, the Bargo was on the railway line, but anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, so John Peyton Robertson came to Tahmoor, I believe, in the 1930s. His father was a railway detective, which would be a very interesting story to tell at another time. He wasn't living locally when he was a railway detective. He actually came to Tahmoor. He retired to Tahmoor. He bought the property to retire to. But this fellow, John Robertson, he was a barber, and he built that little shop. He actually kicked off in the newsagency at a side little room on the side, but then he built this one. Then he had to retire due to ill health, and the property was sold, and Mr. and Mrs. or Mrs. McDonnell.
Yes,
Jean and John McDonnell bought it, and they had a great reputation for hamburgers, I believe.
Absolutely, the best hamburgers in Tahmoor.
Yeah. And that little shop then, it became incorporated into this area.
Yes, yes. The chemist come along. John Newell started that chemist shop off. I forget
that's where McDonald's cafe.
That little doorway that you can see where that person is.
Yeah,
that's into the shop, and the one on the right, which you can't see, goes into the chemist shop. It was two separate shops.
Right. Yeah, I've got a memory of that. So I mean, I didn't come to Tahmoor till '73.
Yep.
And then of course you had that little CBC, which became the National Australia Bank. That was a little branch office there, which was tacked onto the end of it.
Yep.
But this photo's from probably the mid 1970s, something like that.
Yeah, probably like around about then.
So nothing, of course, you wouldn't recognise it today.
No.
And then you're following down the street. So we'll follow down the street with the next slides. And here we have the newsagents.
Yes.
And that was built by?
That was built by Colin Miller, I think.
And it was built for Mr. Powell?
Mr. Powell, yes.
Right.
Edward Powell.
So he, can't remember off the top of my head when he became postmaster. It was about 1938 or something like that, I guess.
Something like that, 38, 39-ish way.
So it's great, really great photos. Looks like a much older photo here by the look of the.
Yes.
Although it's got to be 39 plus, but and it was also a residence, so which a lot of them did, didn't they? They had the
lived on the premises. Yes. Yep.
There's another close-up photo, and we've got a photo of Neville Crawford, because the connection there is that Edward Powell's daughter married Neville Crawford, and so it stayed in the family until only this past year when Neville's son Tom, who took over, has sold the business.
Yes,
so,
and notice on the left-hand side of that building, that doorway.
Yep.
That is where John Robertson used to cut hair.
That was his first barber shop.
Yeah, that's where I had my hair cut up by John.
And then another milk barn. This one we know was built in 1953 because it was reported in the Picton Post. And it was built I shouldn't have buy, but for the Corbetts, for Jack Corbett and his wife. We don't believe that they're any relation to the Corbetts.
No, they're not.
No. So they built in 1953, and they're the Corbett children, aren't they, Frank? Is there?
Yeah, sitting out the front, yes.
And
obviously, and I think there was 3 children, so there must have been a visitor or a rally or something.
So so they operated that. They gave free ice creams when it was open, so that would have been very popular with the kids. But and then after a milk bar, the Astleys took over.
Yes, Harry Astley and then Emily.
Harry and Emily, yep.
Yeah, and it became the Tahmoor radio shop. But also in that shop were people like the Kendalls and the Burrows and other people who lived in that residence, or the shop wasn't always going, but yeah.
That's right. And here on the screen we've got a photo of the Corbetts and also the Kendalls.
Correct.
Yeah. That's just a bit of a street view. That photo was taken about 1989. So you've got the National Australia Bank. It opened there, I think, in 1980, the same year that Pat Caldwell opened the solicitor's office next door. But you can see, looking down, you've got the butcher shop and the cafe, which, from my memory, from 1980, Paul Soulos, I think.
Yes, John Soulos's family.
Yeah. Now, this one's got a good bit of history.
Yes.
So built in 1930 by Sam Emmett, and it was also, besides a little general store, it was also for a time, the post office.
Yes, it's a post office shop.
And he had in there, Sylvester Mills, he was there in the early times.
As a postmaster, yes.
Yeah. And I think Sam kicked him out, didn't he?
Yes, yeah. There was a bit of a kerfuffle between them.
Yeah, he claimed to the Postmaster General that he wasn't paying the rent, and he kicked him out. But the town gave he and his wife a big farewell. It actually made the front page of the Picton Post. This big event that they put on to say goodbye to the family. So it couldn't have been that bad. And he was followed by our Edwin Powell, our postmaster, as we mentioned before. And the story with that, Sam obviously had an issue with people.
Yes.
Because Edwin built his own shop, and Sam tried to kick him out before the shop was finished, and it went to court. And the magistrate adjourned the case for 6 weeks. And in that 6 weeks, Edwin Powell was able to complete his shop and move in. So there was no case to answer after that. But yeah, Sam, I think, was a bit of a cantankerous fellow.
I think so. History seems to tell us that.
It does. But probably in our recent times, in our knowledge of the place, it was the little general store became a little supermarket, and some very familiar names to current generations would be the Tickles.
Correct.
But Seth was also an agent for Neptune, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yes, yes. He moved a few places in Tahmoor, but yeah, he ran that for a while, and then the Grants came.
Right. And they stayed a good while. They were probably one of the best known families, I imagine, who ran the supermarket.
Yes.
And it was more than a supermarket. They actually, I read somewhere, they were called the Anthony Hordens of Tahmoor because they sold everything. And if you look at up here, he's got dry cleaning, he's got footwear, soft goods, fruit, veggies, groceries. And then this list here, he also sold their other clothing, floral aprons, tennis socks, glass measures, the whole box and dice.
Also, Marlane, on the side, on the south side of that photo, was a shed where there was cement and fibro and building material, and yeah, he kept a good lot. And later on the left hand side there was hardware where there was nails and lots of other things they sold out of that later on.
Maybe that's where Keith Corbett got his idea from.
Maybe.
Except for the groceries.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here are the Grants themselves on there, leaving the business after 19 years. It started off, though, actually with the Grant, like this fellow's father and brother.
Yes, Eric.
And that's a sad-looking building, not long, I guess, before it was demolished.
Yes, that'd be right. That was Ray Cadwell's, and Ray there on the right.
And there's an interior shot of the shelves, always very fully stocked. And just popularly known, once Bilo opened down the bottom there, it was always just known as the old supermarket, wasn't it? Go to the old supermarket.
Yes, yeah. But the floor sort of differed in there and creaked and groaned, but it was really well stocked.
Yeah. A lot of footsteps would have passed through there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.